Good evening and welcome to Surbiton Pop Talks. Thanks for coming back. It's great to have you here. So, super simple. Surbiton Pop Talks. The idea is very simple indeed. We've got one idea and we've got four amazing speakers. Everyone bringing their own very different experiences from very different walks of life and approaching tonight's theme of technology from very different angles indeed. We've got a stellar lineup tonight, and thank you to all of them for joining us. We'll start this evening with Avye Couloute, who is a co-founder of social enterprise campaign Girls into Coding. We'll have Richard Stegmann, who's a specialist director of photography and virtual reality with Surround Vision. He'll be talking to us about virtual reality and the future where that may take us. Surbiton old girl Holly Harrison is back to talk to you from her experience in TikTok. What's it like with the meteoric rise of a social media giant? And we'll be hearing about that and what the future holds too. And lastly this evening, Edosa Odaro will be talking to us and driving the silver bullet through the new industrial revolution, thinking about artificial intelligence and what it means to you and to us in education. So thanks for joining in. Technology, whether you're like me and something of a Luddite with your feet stuck in the mud and just somehow cobbling your way through using technology to get through your job day to day, then or whether you're some super flyer with every gadget at your means with the most digital literacy capabilities going forward. It doesn't matter, technology today is part of our lives, isn't it? And it's everywhere around us. It's ed tech, it's music tech, it's in everything that we do. The fact is that technology enhances our lives and it advances our potential. And we can either be stood looking at our muddy boots fixed in yesterday, or we can be horizon gazers looking at the bright future of tomorrow. Well, joining us first this evening is Avye Couloute. Avye is a co-founder of the social enterprise campaign Girls into Coding. She has set up 10 to No Limits. She's been at conferences in Barcelona and around the world, talking about her career journey, her tech journey in coding, and now she's on her own successfully crowdfunded social enterprise campaign. She has won the Diana Legacy Medal. She is won a Women Tech 100 award, but I'm not going to embarrass her anymore. I'm just going to say she's barely 14. The woman is incredible and she's here tonight. I'm going to hand over now. Avye, good evening and welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Avye, as Mr. Bird just said, and I'm really excited to be here with everyone and to talk a bit about my journey with Girls into Coding and how I inspire other girls like me to get involved in tech and STEM-based subjects. So now I'm going to share my screen to show you guys the presentation I've prepared, and hopefully you'll be able to join me while I explain to you a bit about me and a bit about my journey. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, so hopefully everyone can see my screen, but once again, hi everyone, my name is Avye and I'm the founder of Girls into Coding. So, my tech journey. So, hi everyone, my name is Avye and I'm 14 years old and I'm in year 9. I love coding and making stuff. I'm a workshop leader, an advocate for girls in tech, a social entrepreneur, and the founder of Girls into Coding. So here's a bit about me. So I started coding and attending coding events when I was 7 years old, and now I run my own robotics workshops. And all the way back in 2018, that was when I founded Girls into Coding, where we engage girls from all different backgrounds with physical computing, coding, robotics, and 3D printing based workshops. I'm also an ARM ambassador and am part of the Gen ARM 2Z program which enables young people to talk to different tech leaders. And I've also been lucky enough to attend some great STEM events, conferences, courses, and I've learned from some fantastic role models. I've also, throughout my journey, have had the pleasure of receiving several different rewards in recognition of my work of getting more girls into tech. So here are some of the awards I've won on the screen. And onto my next topic is what got me into coding. So when I was just 7 years old, I started going to coding clubs and coding workshops. And this got me involved into coding and introduced me to a microcontroller called the microbit. And what I loved about the microbit is how I could use code to move things on the screen, but to also move things I could see in front of me using different electronic components. And I soon discovered through attending these different workshops that I had a really big interest and passion for it. So I continued to explore what I'd learned at those workshops at home, and I continued to explore other tech activities. And I really wanted to share what I had learned and what I'd learned at those events, which is what led me on to leading my social enterprise Girls into Coding, as well as organising events and workshops to continue to inspire more girls to get into tech. So how you can get started in coding. So the hands-on approach with physical computing and coding with the Raspberry Pi. So the microbit is a microcontroller, as I said before, and it's designed to inspire other young people to learn to code, and it has a ton of technology packed into it. And the microbit, I would just like to say, is a very, very small microcontroller. It's literally the size of maybe like a credit card. It's very small. I have one in front of me here. It's a very small microcontroller, and you can do tons with it. There are absolutely loads of coding projects for the microbit, ranging from some very basic ones to more advanced projects that all link with using electronic components and crafting different things. The microbit.org website also offers loads of cool projects and ideas and tutorials for the microbit that are linked with other areas such as music, sport, and even fashion. So once again, how can you get started in coding? So another device that I like to use is something called the Raspberry Pi, and once again I have one in front of me. The Raspberry Pi is a mini computer, so it's also another great piece of kit, and it's developed by the Raspberry Pi Foundation. It's also a low-cost pocket-sized computer, and it allows people of all ages to explore computing and to learn how to program in different languages such as Scratch and Python, which you may have heard of. The foundation for Raspberry Pi also provides great free resources, tutorials to help you build your coding skills and experience, as well as supporting community coding clubs. So where can you get ideas for different projects? So there are always loads of different places, resources where you can get ideas from. Some of them that I like the most include tech events. It's always good to go to a tech event where you can really see everything being brought to life. That's personally my favourite way to get new ideas for projects. And of course, there's YouTube tutorials, which is really nice and accessible. All you need to do is get your iPad or computer and go onto YouTube to find a project. The Raspberry Pi Foundation, as I said before, microbit.org as well. And of course, social media as well is a great place to see other people from all different types of communities coming together to share their work, and tech clubs. So the microbit birthday bot. So the microbit birthday bot was one of the first successful robots that I'd made and had entered into a competition. So that was my microbit birthday bot. I'd use what I'd learned to build my microbit birthday bot. So through going to these different workshops, I'd use what I had learned from those workshops to build the birthday bot. So I used the different components such as the servos, the microbit again, and I put all my knowledge together and was able to come up with this robot, which although it did something basic such as moving its arm up and down, holding the balloon and singing a happy birthday tune, it was one of my first robots which I made when I was just 10 years old, and I was really proud of it, and I was really proud to bring all my knowledge together to create something new. So what is coding? So coding or computer programming is how we communicate with computers. Code tells computer what actions to take, and writing code is like creating a set of instructions. And by learning to write code, you can also tell the computer what to do or how to behave, and you can also use the skills through coding to make websites, apps, to process data, and lots of other cool and interesting things. So Girls into Coding, my story. So 3 years ago, I came up with the idea of organising free coding events for girls. So after repeatedly attending and going to and running different workshops, I noticed that the majority of attendees, the people who attended, were boys. And I was determined to get more girls like me involved in STEM and to give it a go, because while going to the events, I wanted someone like me to be there who had the same interest. But some of the times I was the only one, and I really want for the future that there are other girls coming together who enjoy the same passion. So I decided to set up a series of events targeting girls aged 10 to 14, and that's when I came up with the idea of Girls into Coding. So Girls into Coding, who are we and what do we do? So as I said before, I founded Girls into Coding 3 years ago, and now I run it with my mum. We're a community interest company, a CIC, and we're committed to readdressing the gender imbalance in STEM activities, education and careers. Girls into Coding empowers girls aged 10 to 14 by providing them with free hands-on workshops and events to explore robotics, coding, physical computing, 3D printing, design and different opportunities to interact with female role models, which is when we invite speakers like what we're doing here today, but of female role models who we think are doing cool things in the world of STEM. Girls into Coding also allows girls from all over the world to benefit from our community, particularly those from underprivileged backgrounds. We help them to develop their confidence and sense of belonging in tech settings, and the belief in their abilities, and we want to make sure they're comfortable to know that they have a seat at that STEM table. So Girls into Coding, our mission and vision. So our aim now is to encourage at least 1,000 girls a year, and our vision is to see girls and women engaged in STEM activities, education and careers, equally comfortable with an equal sense of belonging, and most importantly, in equal numbers. So obviously we all know that COVID-19 hit us all, and all the way back in 2018, which is when I actually started running the Girls into Coding events, and before Corona obviously, we were able to actually run physical in-person events. But as the pandemic hit, we had to find new innovative ways of running our events, and we still wanted to make them hands-on, because to us, hands-on was the way which we enjoyed the most, and we thought that the girls would take more benefit from, because we think that as part of Girls into Coding, we think that people learn, well, I think that people learn better by actually physically doing something instead of just learning on the screen, which is why when we switched to virtual events, we thought it was really important that we still kept that hands-on aspect. So bearing in mind that we had to find a whole new way to going onto virtual, this gave us the idea of, I had the idea of making my own, redesigning a robotics kit, which I would be able to send out to the girls, and they'd be able to receive the kit, and they would be able to have it with them on the day, so that we would be able to do it together on Zoom, so that they would have their physical kit in front of them, and they would still be able to make something and bring that to life. So on my screen here is our global reach, which we've been able to reach from going to virtual. So we've actually been able to reach people from the United Kingdom, Ireland, Spain, Denmark, France, Poland, the United States, Canada, Suriname, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Singapore, and hopefully many more countries will be added to the list as we go. So on my screen now is our Girls into Coding social impact. So these are all the qualities which we've been able to provide to the girls. So some of them include developing problem-solving skills, their creativity, raising STEM awareness, improving confidence, championing gender diversities and championing stereotypes, and as a whole, bringing the whole community together. So here on my screen, you can see our girls actually doing their hands-on workshops through our virtual events, and it's really great to see how engaged everyone is, And I'd also like to point out that on the left, girl in green, we've actually do something where when we're developing a new robot, we actually like to test it out by actually sending the kit to one of the girls so they can test the robot, they can give us their input, and it makes the whole experience more of a community, it makes it feel like it has more of a community feel to everything. And it's really fun to see the girls interact with the project and hearing what they have to say after that. So here are some of my robotics kit. Well, here's one of them on the screen. This is one of the robots that I made and developed for one of my early Girls into Coding events, which was held at the Microsoft Reactor back in when we were able to do in-person events. So I like to use the microbit in the majority or lots of my workshops, and I lead both face-to-face and obviously now virtual. And next on my screen is some other robots of different designs, and these are the other robotics kits that I also designed and used in my workshops. And as you can see, the different models on the screen, it shows that they've all evolved and they all are now carrying out various different functions. And as you can see, they make use of motors, distance sensors, line following sensors, grabbers, LEDs and buzzers. So next what I'm going to show on my screen is a video of some of our kits in action. This was back when we were doing physical events, but it's a really fun little video showcasing some of our robots in action. So I'll put that up in just a second. So as you can see, it was quite fun to be able to include our robots, and we were able to make a little fun video together showcasing the robots moving together in time with each other, and it kind of looks like they're doing a little dance, which is really funny. And the next slide, which I'm about to show, is another video, and this one was one that we made with for Halloween. But the robots weren't especially made for Halloween. They were robots we were already using in our workshop, and we just adapted them by adding pumpkins and all that kind of spooky stuff to mark Halloween. So that was one of the Halloween robots, which I was just talking about, well, multiple Halloween robots. And it was really cool to see them all kind of come together, and it was really also really fun to create that video. And hopefully this Halloween, I'll probably be making another similar video showcasing some of my more recent and updated robots. So why is it important to get more girls into tech? So the facts. Well, at the age of 5, boys and girls have an almost equal interest in technology. By 6, girls start to see themselves as having a different relationship with tech, and by 9, a significant gap starts to emerge, and that gap grows, and girls' interests and confidence in STEM in particular starts to drop. And there is a gap in the wider community where girls aged between 10 and 14 are not kept engaged enough with tech. STEM job crisis. So many high demand STEM jobs can't be filled because there's simply an insufficient number of people to fill them. Companies want to have the best talent to stay competitive. The government knows this and has invested money and resources to try and address the problem. The government also recognises a very specific problem of gender difference. Across the world, only 30% of female students pursue STEM-related higher education studies. So, women in tech. So women remain underrepresented in the tech industry. 17%, so just 17% of people in tech roles in the UK are female, and only 5% of leadership positions in the technology industry are actually held by women. So why is it important to get more girls into tech and coding? Well, it's important to break the boundaries of societal stereotypes. It's always important to be able to contribute to bridging the gender gap. Learning about coding increases digital awareness. Achieving competence at any skill increases their confidence and self-belief and boosts ambition and drive to succeed. Coding is used in so many industries and it can open up plenty of opportunities. Coding can also improve life chances. Tech helps kids prepare for the future. Coding can also teach different problem-solving skills. And also, in a world where new ways to process data, new medical technology, and a better science could literally save our lives every day, it's even more important than ever to let our girls see the potential that they have and how they can start applying it to 10, if not younger. And the world needs science and technology now more than ever to fix problems, to offer solutions, and to ultimately help bring us back all together as safely as possible. And one last word I would like to say is don't be afraid of being afraid to try something new. Thank you very much.
Avye, that was incredible, and thank you so much for giving us an insight into your journey through tech, and also as well, I thought fascinating as well to think about a lot what you built on there about the ideas and the transferable skills about why it's important to get girls into coding so young. And those ideas, the things that the World Economic Forum are talking about, 21st century skills that are needed to take into account creative problem solving, critical thinking, collaboration, some of these great ideas that are actually, like you say, absolutely transferable in everything we do, as well as building confidence, mental health, boosting ambition. So thank you so much, Avye. What a great start. And moving on to our second speaker this evening. Richard Stegmann is a specialist director of photography and a VR producer. He is a VR industry pioneer, pushing boundaries with groundbreaking projects, calm, practical solutions in ever-changing and challenging situations. He's worked with the All Blacks and the Hydrel and the Formula One. His globe-trotting career has taken him around in some of the most impressive projects going. But he's here this evening to tell us all about the possibilities of virtual reality, what he does with it, and perhaps even where he sees the future lies. Good evening, Richard, and thank you for joining us.
Well, hi there. Thanks very much for having me. I'm hoping everything's working as it should, and if I can kick off with a little bit about where I'm coming from and who I am. I can appear there. So I'm technically an engineer. That's my formal training, but I've worked in the theatre and I've worked in the film industry, and the last 7 years also been very involved with immersive media. And it's been a wild ride, which I'd love to just give you some idea of what I've been up to and a little insight into what goes into 360 video production, and then we'll move on to where the technology is leading us. So let me first just give you a taste of a short little show reel, which gives you some idea of some of the content. It's a bit weird if you're not used to looking at this content because it's flattened out, so it's an equi-rectangular projection of the 360 material. So it's distorted on the top and the bottom, and the left-hand side joins up with the right-hand side. So, but let me just play this short show reel for you.
Phil, can you just maybe do it a little bit more in time?
We are one small village, but we are not alone. Everyone is helping build our great green wall.
My father said, girls, they just get married and move away.
It's not always about your success. Throughout every dark night, there's a bright day. And that's how I see boxing, and that's how I see my career so far.
Right, so that gives you. It's really should be seen in a headset, so it's not designed to be viewed flat like that, but needs must. Not everybody has a headset at home just yet, but I think COVID may have changed that to some degree. So if I just run through briefly what I'm going to try and touch on is a little bit of a background towards from what I do, just to give you some insight, because that's what I can bring to you. So a little bit about the process, the nuts and bolts of making a 360 video. And what is 360 video? Well, it's it's the ability to capture everything that we see around us. And then talk about two projects which are, I think, very relevant, especially since from the last speaker, there's a lot of interest in introducing women to technology, and we've worked on two projects which really feature some amazing stories. So let me first just jump into what is VR. Virtual reality often is misconstrued because people will say, well, you're talking about 360 video. That's not VR. VR is something that's computer generated. Well, there is a bit of a blurred line, and some people would say that VR is strictly computer generated and it's a virtual thing, and 360 video is just that. It's a capture of a real space in motion picture. But if we look back in the history, there were ways of capturing stereographic imagery back in 1853, and that led on to sort of the cartography developments. And man's been fascinated with how to capture and take people, recreate space.
Richard, sorry to interrupt, your audio has disappeared.
It's me, John. I think something's happened here.
He's Richard, you are muted.
Ah, how did that happen? I'm back. Am I back? Good. All right. So we were talking about how we distribute content, and obviously with broadband now becoming broad enough to distribute a reasonable resolution, that's now becoming an option to be able to send that down the line. So capturing this content has been extremely difficult with the technology that was available just sort of 8 years ago. We were restricted to very few frames per second, and very low resolutions, and that's come leaps and bounds. We are now able to capture much higher frame rates, much higher resolution. And there's also a whole bunch of cameras now available, and that keeps evolving as time goes on. And there's been some that are good for some jobs and some that are good for others, and they all have their sort of idiosyncrasies and pros and cons to them. So we're I debated whether or not I should go into details about the actual filmmaking, because to me we're quite passionate about how we use film to tell stories. And in 360 video making, we are limited to what we can do, because it's more akin to a theatrical situation. You've got a space rather than a frame that you're talking about. So a device that we've sort of experimented with and used very effectively is to move the camera. And moving the camera in a 360 environment comes with complications. That you're messing with the sensors. If your eyes are telling you that you're moving and your ears are telling you that you're not, there's a potential there to have motion sickness. So we've got to be quite careful about how we move the camera, but we've got a lot of different ways of doing it. So you can see here we've got various gyroscopic controlled poles, and we've got zip lines. Over the years, we've developed a whole bunch of these ways of creating movement, and it's certainly set our content apart from a lot of other people. So yeah, I'm just going to touch very briefly on that. So those are those. I do want to show you one little piece that we shot, and we will come back, and it's part of another showreel right at the end. But if you have a look at this next clip, see if you can see. Now remember, you can see the entire scene. It was shot on the set of Britannia in the Czech Republic. See if you can see where the cameraman is, because we're always quite proud of losing a cameraman in the scene. So if I just hit, there we go. Now remember, you're seeing the entire 360 there. This of course is different because we've got the cameramans on the back of the vehicle. But that first one, I shall tell you later where we managed to hide him. So this was a behind the scenes piece we did for Britannia. So we're able to take somebody and put them into that space and make them believe they were there. The set was destroyed on the last night when the enemy attacked. So I think we've got a short clip of that. Oh, it's actually quite a long clip. But again, the cameraman is hidden away as one of the legionaries, which we were quite proud to do. This was the attack. Again, it's lost on the flat screen. We really need to be in the headset with the audio and being surrounded by it to really appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to go to the next slide. So yeah, it brings me on to audio. So if you think about stereo audio, what we need in 360 environment is what we call ambisonic audio, and it's kind of like stereo audio, but it's locked to the picture. So if you hear something in front of you and you turn around, then it's behind you. So the sound is attached to the picture, which is there's a certain amount of thinking that needs to go into producing that. So there's a clip here where there are 4 people playing instruments. The camera's in the middle, and if you were to listen to that with headphones on or with a headset, when you face each musician, you hear them louder than you do the other. And that's made possible by recording with a pair of pickups, and they've over the years, they've actually developed some microphones that have these pairs built into them, so that these are the sort of tools that we would use for capturing the audio. Right, enough about the tech behind this. Let me just go back to me. Yeah. What I want to do now is just share two series that we worked on. The one is one called the Female Planet. And it was sponsored by Google, and they were trying to also trying to tell women portray women that were excelling in various technological fields. So we went and we featured a number of people from all over the world who were doing some amazing things in their field. And if I just play the short clip.
My dad started teaching me to box when I was 3 years old. Not too many people expect a cute little girl to know how to box. I'm kind of a fan of breaking down barriers. You know, knocking down stereotypes. Small and strong, beautiful and fearless.
The woman you see in front of you today is very different to the one that started the company 6 years ago. My passion and belief really helped overcome many obstacles and persuade the right people.
My parents told me that they had seen greatness in me since I was small.
Oh, yeah.
They tried to nurture that greatness, even though I didn't see it in myself.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what obstacles are in front of you, if you believe in yourself, you can make it happen.
Oh, yeah. Power. Power.
Yeah, so that's Tierra Fletcher, the woman we shot who works at NASA. Amazing woman. We've recently been in touch with her again because we're talking about doing another project with her. So it's just, I was blown away with what she's done in the time since we shot that, which was only a few years ago. She's really an exceptional woman. The other series is a series we shot last year. Again, it was focusing on 10 young women from around the world. So 10 young women, 10 countries and 1 world. And it was sponsored by Lenovo. It was about them launching some new kit, but it focused in on some amazing stories where these young girls were using technology to make a difference. And if I've got a little short showreel on this as well.
Have you ever thought about how young women see the world? How often do we hear from young women? What do they want from the future?
To change the world, we must act together.
I had to escape from my fears.
Get ready to have your mind blown by this 360 film series, New Realities. Innovative virtual reality technology means you can walk through a portal and hear from young women themselves.
When I feel like drowning in all of the bad experiences and all of the bad things I've gone through, I think about my mom, my sisters, my grandmothers, my Syrian aunts right behind me.
Together, the 10 stories build into a picture of an entire generation transcending borders, using smarter technology, and actively working for a better world.
We can seize this moment and make a difference.
This is a new generation offering a new reality, an alternative view of the world, and a different future. Don't take it from me. Hear it from the girls themselves. Watch the films in a headset or online at lenovo.com/newreality.
Yeah, I'm probably not doing them justice because there's a whole lot of backstory behind those, and I would what I will do is share some links so that you can go in and have a look at those. They are all viewable on flat screen, but obviously if you've got a headset, that would be an amazing. That's the way they should be watched. But it was an amazing feat for us because we shot 4 of those of the 10. So 4 of them were shot in 4 months during a pandemic, which was pretty intense. So if we look at these different technologies, we've got VR, AR, MR. So what are these things? And so VR is this virtual reality, and what we've been looking at sometimes is referred to as VR, but it's putting somebody into another 3-dimensional space. AR is when you augment reality and you overlay technology on top of reality. So that's when a lot of the handset applications where we've got the ability to put additional information overlaid onto the camera information that the smartphone is seeing. And then MR is just a combination of those, so it's sort of mixed reality. And those all fall under XR, which is extended reality, which is the umbrella for those realities. And they all really fall under 3DOF, which is the ability to sort of be in a fixed space, and the viewer can look up and down and left and right, and that's about it. The viewer can't choose where they want to move. Now the next level, what we're working towards, or what's now becoming possible, is 6DOF, and that's the ability for the viewer or the person to actually move around in space. And what's enabling this technology is the game industry. So the game engine is delivering real-time worlds that interact with people. So if you think of a gamer that can move around and look at things and pick things up, and that technology is now colliding with the 360 video technology. We're adding to that the ability to scan places and introduce photogrammetry into an experience. So the textures of the building are lifelike. But now if you want to put somebody into that space, you've got this 3-dimensional space. How do you actually put a person in? And the only way to do that is to actually create a 3D video scan of that person. And so that's kind of like a hologram. And to do that, you have to have a volumetric capture studio, and you using numerous cameras, sometimes as many as 240. You capture the person doing the action, and then you've got them as a model, and you can put them into a place and you can walk around them because they are now exist as a 3D model. So volumetric capture is becoming very, very sought after, and it's a technology it's developing quite fast as the processing powers of the computers develops. Neil Blomkamp, District 9 director, he's recently shot 2 movies in volumetric capture. But we're talking about an immense amount of data captured. It's sort of 26 gigabytes a second. It's a lot of data that's got to be number crunched into a format that then can be viewed. So volumetric capture is one of the technologies that's one of our tools that's coming of age. Coupled to that is motion capture, or mocap, and that's when we capture the movement of somebody and translate that to an avatar. So it's a real-time movement of capturing the movement and translating it to an animated character. And that's through the use of metahumans, which are models of humans as a computer-generated model, are becoming incredibly lifelike. You can zoom in and see the pores of the skin. Incredible technology, and it's that's then relying on mocap to deliver the actual performance. And then we've got the other technologies, augmented reality, which is coming of age, where we can overlay things in real time. And then, of course, combining all of these is mixed reality. So just a little taste of something we did with AJ. So here he is in a in Dimension Studios, which is in Wimbledon, which is one of it was originally only 2 volumetric capture stages, one in LA and one in Wimbledon. And this particular studio's got 106 cameras, and we captured AJ doing his thing, and the idea was to use it as a promotional piece for one of his fights. This is going back a couple of years, and you know, you would also be able to put on a headset and be be faced by him. But once you've got him captured, there's a whole bunch of things you can do with him, and this is where the film industry is also using volumetric capture, because you can then drop him into an environment. So if you thought about having, this is where Game Engine uses these 3D characters, because you can pop them into an experience or a location. You can have them different size. You can have more than one of him. The opportunity to change the lighting and the coloring is, you've got quite a bit of flexibility there, so you can create a whole army of AJs if you wanted to. So this is the way that one can build up a scene. So there are other ways of bringing people into a 360 video environment, and this is something we did with David Beckham. We put him into various sporting locations that we had shot. So in a green screen studio, we had him grab this ball, and we then comped it into a live scene. And if I just go to the next, this is another tool that we're looking at using, which is kind of like an AR type tool, where we've got a screen that's on the wall, a window frame, and that window frame is tracked by the phone. And if you move through the window, you go to another location. So this would be literally what you see on your phone, but as you move through that space, you're transported into another location. So that was in Brick Lane, and when you moved through the portal, you were then on a football field or at Formula One pit lane. So these are ways to use the technology to take people to different places. And I want to just finish off with a show reel that sort of ties it all together. So if I get that.
And I know it. I've been catching fire, gasoline, and I know it. Just 'cause you're packing, loop down south. That don't mean I'm never gonna take your life now, baby. You're the man. But I got the power. You make rain. But I make it shine. You should know. I'm the one who's in control. I let you come take the win long as you don't forget. Got the power.
Yeah, well, that's hopefully I've taken you on a bit of a journey, shown you some things that give you some insight into what is possible, and not confused you guys too much, and enticed you to go and have a look at those the Female Planet and to New Realities, and I'll make sure that we share the links to those afterwards. Yeah.
Richard, thank you very much. That was incredible. I have so many questions running through my head, but I can't possibly ask you them all now. But Mostly you've just blown my mind, I've got to be honest. My wife always says, don't talk to me about space, I can't think about it, it's too big, it blows my mind. I feel a bit like, I feel exactly like that right now. That frame in Brick Lane has literally blown my mind. I don't even understand how it works. I've been there, I might have just probably lost my mind. But thank you so much. I love as well your analogy of how this is like a theatrical experience. When you're filming, you're thinking about a real living space, not just working through a frame. And I love all the possibilities of how that could collide with game engine in future. I have so many questions. We'll save those from everyone else from the end, but thank you very much, Richard Stegmann. Our next speaker tonight, I'm delighted to welcome Holly Harrison. Holly used to work in media a few years ago with those great glossy mags and Condé Nast and Glamour before moving into exciting agency work, working with Channel 5 and MTV and at the Europe Music Awards. So much going on. But now for the last 18 months, Holly has jumped onto the exciting rocket ship of TikTok, where she is the luxury fashion and retail brand partnerships manager worldwide. Her job is globally spread and she's a client direct category expert. She's here, guys, from TikTok to show you what it's all about, the meteoric rise, what it's really like behind the scenes, and can this giant get even bigger? With delight, and she's a Surbiton old girl, so it's wonderful to welcome her back. A fantastic success story. Holly, thanks for being here, and welcome back to Surbiton High.
Oh, thank you so much, Stuart. It's lovely to be back, even albeit virtually. Like TikTok, which is a short form mobile video platform, I will try and keep it short and sweet. But I think really what I wanted to do today was really take you through my world of TikTok, and also for any of the girls that have joined tonight or their families to just briefly touch upon careers in tech. I think I studied history and politics at university. If you had asked me then whether I would be in one of the most globally downloaded apps in the world that didn't even exist 3 years ago, I would laugh and say, I don't know what you're talking about. So I think it's really important today to come away with that open mind. Obviously, amazing seeing from coding, seeing all of Richard's work. We've actually done a lot of work with AJ and AR. I just want everyone to think about the possibilities. So let me share my screen and we'll go from there. So meet TikTok. Now, I'm not sure who in this virtual space actually knows TikTok. I think it would be hard to miss the platform over the last 18 months. I think everybody being bored in the house, a song that actually became popular and trending on the platform. They really turned to TikTok for that joy and creativity and to give them that much alleviated break from quite a monotonous world, I'd say. So meet TikTok, everybody. I thought today it was kind of exciting for you all to look at why TikTok's unique. What is it, if you don't know? Sort of how we have this community and the trends on the platform, which is what we're known as. And then, as I say, sort of those tech careers of tomorrow that maybe wouldn't even exist now, how to think about getting involved in them and how you could get involved at working in a place like TikTok. So as I said here, and as Stuart kindly introduced, I graduated from Surbiton in 2012. This video had a backing track of Jerusalem, one of the school hymns, but it was a bit glitchy, so we've left that one. So today I live in the global brand partnerships world at TikTok. I work with some of the big clients of the world like Levi's, Dr. Martens, Sweaty Betty, JD, Westfield, to name very much a few. And I thought really, when we think about TikTok, it really is about entertainment. And I think really that has for me been a common theme throughout actually all of the two speakers tonight, whether it be entertainment through creation of things, making robots, coding, or whether it's been entertainment through the likes of watching content, making new content, pushing the boundaries. And I think TikTok is a place that brings all of that entertainment to you in a way that's completely personalized. I'm not sure how many of you have TikTok downloaded. I promise this isn't a plug at all, but if you spend time on the app, you will truly start to understand the tech behind it and what makes it so special. The algorithm, we try to be quite transparent about that as a business. So there's interesting articles on it on our newsroom, but essentially everybody in this virtual Teams environment would have an entirely different experience on TikTok. It spends time looking at what you watch, what you like, what you're entertained by, and everybody's For You feed, which is what it's officially called, when you open the app, is totally curated, whether Richard might be about boxing and film and travel, whether I might be about fashion and beauty and retail. All of us were going to have entirely unique experiences. And I think that personalization is something that really has come to tech and is here to stay. And I think it's very exciting. For me, what makes TikTok more exciting for brands and for creators and users alike is that it really is designed for discovery and also bringing joy to people. As of yesterday, it's announced we're with 1 billion users globally, and that is a very big number, and it just shows you how many people are coming to us to consume that tech, to consume that content and really be inspired. So again, without performing a live TikTok tutorial or filming one for you myself, I thought I'd just use 1 minute to really show you what TikTok's about. And I think for me, the synergy between TikTok as a school, TikTok is all about community. If Surbiton didn't have a community, I definitely still wouldn't be here today talking to you. So I think this is a really nice 1 minute clip to frame TikTok for all of you.
We let the waters rise. We drifted to survive. I needed you to stay, but I let you drift away. My love, where are you? My love, where are you? Whenever you're ready, can we surrender? Whenever you're ready, can we surrender? Can we surrender? That's what I'm talking about. Whenever you're ready, can we surrender? Can we surrender? Can we
Hopefully you all heard that and it didn't deafen you. I think really there it's amazing to see all the different diverse viewpoints culturally from what people are saying, how they're expressing themselves. And I think what's important to note is TikTok isn't just on TikTok. TikTok very much has permeated culture over the last few months to couple of years, really, whether it's sort of hearing about Amanda Holden taking her bins out with the ball gown again, or whether it's Judi Dench saying that she survived lockdown due to duetting with her grandson Sam. I really think that's what's made TikTok so exciting from a technology standpoint. It's made it so accessible for people to be entertained, and as I say, on a very personalized level. So why is it different? I think that's always exciting to learn about, and actually the reason that TikTok is different is why it's risen to the top. So actually, again, do you notice this in any new brands or startups, or see any areas to go further in tech? So we've said that people come to us to be entertained, but I think for me, what's important, and again, any parents, is that it is a very real view, a very authentic view. It's less about being your polished self. It's very much about showing up as you are and sharing your talent. TikTok really has diversified, and when I say that, I don't mean that in a complex way. I just mean in terms of it's not just about comedy and dance, which is maybe quite a common misconception. It's about food and style and culture and news and all sorts, even banking, even actually physically, you'll see later people talking about jobs, people talking about tech, some brands even putting out physical TikTok videos to employ people on their apprenticeship schemes and so on. So it really has become so many different things to people. And today, given we have a short space of time, I thought what I really wanted to show you was TikTok in action. How one person can really change a trend, create a trend, and actually really make an impact, not just in one region, not just in Surbiton or the UK or Surrey, but actually well beyond into the world. So this is at 420 Dogface 208, very impactful name. This video catapulted to fame this year when his car broke down on the way home from his job in Idaho, America, and he picked up some cran raspberry on the way home. Very retro cranberry juice, I feel, but it's making a comeback. And he longboarded home, and he captured this on TikTok. As you can see there, 30 million likes just on this one video, but it really captures an essence of somebody's moment that really feels special and you want to emulate. You wondered why that was in the news. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense now. And I think, again, just showing how people, no matter when they were famous or when they had a moment, can really make themselves relevant. So Mick Fleetwood himself got his own TikTok account on the back of this, and he actually he emulated it. He jumped on that trend, and I think it received so many fantastic reviews from even just an advertising perspective. But you'll see here, I mean, getting Mick Fleetwood on a skateboard in itself kind of makes me smile. And I'd be amiss to mention music. I mean, I'll challenge anybody in this virtual room that doesn't like a bit of Fleetwood Mac. It's one of my favourites. I do struggle not to sort of bob along and sort of nod my head in presentations. But music, so TikTok's sound on, it's sound on by default. And I think that connection that people can create with sound and using sound and music to really capture people's attention is amazing on TikTok. And again, just showing you how it goes further. Shakira, even herself, got on her skateboard drinking her cran raspberry. And TikTok inspires other people to get involved. They're not just there watching, being a voyeur. They're physically creating content, being creative and getting involved, which obviously for brands works well in this case, because we really saw the stocks and shares, the shelves really actually had an impact as well when it came to this. So it really shows you how creativity and a video of under a minute can really have such impact. So what does this mean? Why am I telling you? I'm telling you because I think it's interesting to see how tech has had that human impact. I think we've talked about tech very literally of what it does. I think in a kind of smart AI sense and machine learning and the algorithm and how it works. It's great to see how that relates to people for me and that unique audience that we've curated, that 1 billion as of yesterday, the unique behaviors, the fact they love to co-create and jump on trends, and the fact that we really do see that your authentic self is what goes viral, nothing else. I think it's just a really nice way to end in terms of TikTok. So what does that mean for careers? Sort of why should anybody in Surbiton care? One, as I said briefly, I think it's amazing how this is just tech. This is careers in tech. This is not careers in every other sense of the word. This is so thousands and thousands and millions and billions of people are creating content about careers. This was just me having a look earlier to see how people talk about tech. And I think what I love is it makes it so accessible for everybody. Everybody talking about tech, everybody talking about what the salaries are, kind of giving people realistic expectation, how to get their foot in the door, the fact kind of stats and looking forward to the future, the fact that it is becoming part of mainstream industry tech, and the fact there's going to be thousands of jobs actually sitting there without anybody to help, and actually 7 reasons to get involved in the industry. I think it's just great to see people talking about tech, and as you can see here, 3 of them are women, so I really love that. I know we're talking about coding earlier on, but definitely really making sure that that is something for everybody and it is a really diverse and accessible thing. And as mentioned, when I started thinking about my career, I think I wanted to be a fashion designer at one point when I did textiles, a historian doing my degree, maybe even a journalist. And I just think the one thing I'd say to take away is tech or any industry, I wouldn't be here in this job if it wasn't for networking and trying new things and figuring out what I didn't want in holidays. And I landed in tech and I couldn't be happier about it. So yes, don't be worried about what you're going to do next in the world. Really think about the things that might not even be there now. So thank you so much. And please do pop any questions in the chat box or send them to Stuart. Really happy to answer them at the end of this session. So nice to meet you all and thank you for your time.
Holly, thank you so much. And just true to TikTok, how entertaining. I just loved it. And thanks for a bit of Fleetwood Mac as well. It's nice, you know, you're appealing to my age group as well, which is always good. So thanks for that. Mick Fleetwood on a skateboard, who would have thought? Anyway. I also what I really enjoyed about that, and I can imagine lots of people sitting at home who aren't perhaps on TikTok but thinking about it, is just actually how positively energized it really did feel, and that idea that this isn't just a spectator voyeuristic kind of social media app, but something that's really creative and people are doing their own thing. It just seems somehow to really open up a whole kind of world of possibility in terms of creativity and individuality, and that really came across. So thank you so much, Holly. Great to have you back at Surbiton. Okay, and our last speaker this evening. I welcome in a moment, I welcome for you Edosa Odaro. Edosa is currently head of data at AIG. He's on the board of governors at Harper Adams University. He's also a non-executive director for Health Data Research UK. What a time to be involved in health data. So he is a cross-industry data and artificial intelligence transformation leader. He is passionate about recombinant innovation, which I don't know what it means either, but what I gather from it basically is you take old things that exist and you think about, right, now how do we repurpose those? How do we transform them for a changing world and for new problems, finding new solutions in today's world, which is brilliant. He's also very keen and talks about the diversity of mind, something I'm quite passionate about as well, and Matthew Said's ideas of cognitive diversity. He's also on the Financial Times 100 most influential leaders and one of the UK's 30 most influential black leaders in fintech and data. And he's here with us this evening. A huge warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Good evening, Edosa.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Good. Thank you, Stuart, for that goodness introduction. So thank you everyone who's here and listening. I'm very honored to be here, but unlike Holly, I'm not an ex-Surbiton. No, I'm not. I didn't have the privilege of coming here, but I do have links with Surbiton. I have a little one who is in Surbiton, and you know that's just a little bit more about me. But I think like some of you, my first big responsibility of the day is actually to bring my little boy into school. And whilst for me this is it's a time of intense focus, just so much going on. You think it's just taking someone into school, but for me it's about, are we going to get out the door on time? It's about what sort of traffic conditions are we going to are we going to meet? The roadworks. Have we even got the right uniform on? On the day. But I suppose if you look at the last sort of few days, you might want to add into that a fuel check, just to check whether you can actually get there with the amount of fuel you have left in your tank. Yeah, for my son, this seems to be a time of creative contemplation for some reason. One of such creative moments for Efe was only a few days ago when he suddenly announced, "Dad, I just do not want to learn how to drive anymore." And so I'm sitting back and wondering, okay, what's going on here? And this is particularly for me shocking, not only because of the time of morning, a bit sort of early for my brain to kick in, and it's certainly much before my first coffee of the day, but also because this little man is the same little man who's threatened a few times to jump in behind the steering wheel and actually drive us into school. However, there's something even more profound, I'll say, about this seemingly innocent declaration, and it's reflective of this rapidly changing world, and I think you've heard quite a bit about it from the earlier speakers. But we're talking about a world where we all just seem to have lost our patience, and I mean that more from the sense of losing our ability to be patient. And I think, for instance, in insurance, gone are those days, or hopefully more and more so, as we get into this new world, where your call was important to us, and you had to sit on the phone and wait for a response. And these days, customers, now want it all, and all kind of want it now, all at the same time. And so there isn't that patience anymore. And even more personally, with the pandemic, we've seen a significant surge, as some of you would be aware, in sort of the online food shopping area. We've seen behaviors that only years ago would have been thought of impossible, perhaps only attributed to the big tech giants like the Amazons and the likes. But perhaps even more broadly, we've seen impacts in vaccine development. I don't know how many would know this, but the average sort of timeline for vaccine development is normally about 15 years, and that's gone down, certainly from a COVID vaccine standpoint, about 15 months, or even less than that for some of the vaccines. But we've also seen it in disease management. We've seen it in genome sequencing and in predicting, spread of the disease. So there's a huge, change in the sort of landscape at the moment, and that really touches each and every one of our lives. But while all of these may all seem random, sort of collection of things happening, to our lives and to our worlds, there is a key kind of thread that cuts across them all, and that thread is speed. But there is another force driving us towards this sort of new need for speed, if you like, and that's the power of data and artificial intelligence, which are kind of underpinning this thing we're calling, if you like, a new industrial revolution. And this is the power that sort of delivers, if you like, the ability to kind of see into the future. You heard some of what Polly was saying there in terms of what some of the things that TikTok does. But it also helps us understand natural language. Like you see that with the likes of your sort of Siri and Alexa and plenty more. It helps us interpret imagery and actually predict human behavior in some ways. And I think TikTok will know a little bit about that and apps like that. But not only is data and AI helping with this sort of mundane type things, such as effective sort of call routing, using voice-enabled, like I say, chatbot bots and things like Alexa. And not only is data and AI in telematics helping us predict accidents now, especially within the space of insurance, it's helping us predict accidents, it's helping us proactively engage with customers to actually save lives. But we are speedily driving towards a world where cars will actually actually drive themselves, and any sort of crashes or impact would automatically trigger a set of events. So imagine a world where, you know, virtual assistants, you know, rather than you sitting there trying to get a hold of your insurer, a virtual assistant actually rings you at the point of an accident to check in on you and see how you're doing, see that you're okay, and to confirm that the crash has actually happened. And then suddenly what you find is a drone suddenly appears, instantly looking at assessing the damage, and perhaps both an Uber and a recovery vehicle simultaneously appear as well. What a world would that be? And so and so as we embark on this new journey, if you like, through into this new industrial revolution, we must now consider that speed is in fact is like a new train, and data and AI are like the tracks on which this train is running. But I think we must also recognize that talent and diversity are effectively the train's drivers. And yet, in a lot of today's workplaces, in the increasingly occurring battles between man and machine, it is man who seems to inevitably lose and lose out. For example, with an increasing sort of number of organizations embarking on so-called cloud-based sort of transformations, it is not the old technology or the heritage technologies that get left behind. Instead, it is people. So the trend that we're seeing in today's workplaces is that there's an ever so widening gap between the rate of change of technology on the one hand, and then the rate at which humans are able to adapt in order to actually acquire the new skills and capabilities required to actually keep up with this kind of technological changes. And so in this astronomical drive beyond COVID, beyond this pandemic, and into the new sort of industrial revolution, technology still seems streets ahead of talent. Yeah, so going back to this underlying drive for speed, it would actually seem to be that what we want, we are also going to have to give. And in other words, what I mean by that is, as the speed of change of the sort of products and services that we want radically increases, so does the speed of change of the skills required to actually deliver these products and services in itself continues to accelerate. And so not only are we seeing a renewed sort of need for a shift from a focus on what to learn towards this focus on how to learn, a move also driven by this fact that the actual lifespan of learned skills is rapidly shrinking. I think the estimates is that very, very soon we're going to see that a skill that was valid at the point of entry into university will become either out of date or obsolete by graduation. But also seeing all of this compounded by this sort of speed of new, if you like, new tools, new technologies, new programming languages. You heard Avye talk about some new programming languages that she uses, and even entire new paradigms. Like you heard with Richard and AR, VR, and all the exciting R's. But this new reality is having a radical impact on how organizations actually think, especially about how to gain competitive advantage. And this is a big contrast. In the old days, the big differentiator with the big organizations kind of out there was technology. But in today's world, technology is easy because we've got the cloud. And so the big differentiator now is increasingly becoming talent. In fact, one of the stats out there is that 50% of the jobs of tomorrow do not actually exist today. And so the big question then would be how, how can both employers and educators actually prepare for an unpredictable future? And how can educators, educate children into professions that don't currently exist? You heard Holly talking about that just now. And how can employers create organizations with roles that I suppose don't even yet, haven't even been defined? So some big questions there, but I think that when we think about talent, I think there are three key elements I like to pull out when it comes to thinking about talent. So while attracting and retaining seems to be a big thing for us and is an increasing challenge, these two things of attracting and retaining will come to nothing really if not optimally combined. Hence the need for an effective mix of people, or if you like, diversity, and the need to ensure that that effective mix of people is actually cohesive, or if you like, inclusion. And so we've talked about speed, this new force that is creating a new industrial revolution. We've talked about inclusion and diversity, the driving force that will help effectively source and connect the best talent to enable all of this to come to fruition. And we've also really focused a lot of this on talent. There's the essential foundations upon which the Industrial Revolution in itself is being built. And so the final kind of question, I suppose, for us to sort of think about is how quickly are we able to adapt our talent engine, which, if you like, I think of as education, to enable our future generations to not only succeed, but to remain globally competitive and thrive in this new industrial revolution. And I think we all can play a role in affecting that. Thank you.
Edosa, thank you very much. Illuminating and greatly thought-provoking. You've thrown up a lot of questions there, and quite rightly, I suppose, we don't have answers for a lot of those things. We're going to open this up in a moment to a little bit of a Q&A session that we're going to throw at our four speakers. Polly Rumbold from our wonderful Green and Silver Club, our development, our doyen of all things alumni, is here with us to chair that. But Edosa, if I may, I thought I might respond to you first. This widening gap is fascinating, isn't it? If not perhaps alarming, as you say, technology is developing and accelerating away from the talent pool that's available to deliver it. And that's clearly a problem for tomorrow, isn't it? I mean, something that you said also that really stood out there, the skills required on admission to university will be obsolete by the time students graduate. I mean, that, everyone's blowing my mind tonight. Just try and get your head around that, guys. You're going to go to university, you're 18 years old. By the time you come out, a whole new skill set is required. So, and 50% of those jobs don't exist yet. I mean, I'm sure you don't have the answer for this, Edosa, because if not, you would, you'd be running the world. But how is it that, how do we turn around this education, this talent engine, if you like? What are the keys here for us, for society, for us as educators, for students, for parents? How do we prepare the youth of today for the tomorrow that we know obviously doesn't exist yet? What are your thoughts, Edosa? How do we somehow reduce, if not eliminate, this gap?
Yeah, I think you're very right in thinking that if I had all the answers, I'll be doing something else. Like you say, running the world. But I tell you, there's a few clues in some of what I was saying, and in some of the successes we're seeing in industry. So there's two key clues I'd like to throw in. One of them I talked about in this sort of shift, where I think a lot of schools and some maybe more schools than universities are starting to really move minds now into that space of how to learn, as opposed to a more rounded education, and really how to learn, not the sit down and cram it all and recite it. So that's one side of it, because what that's doing is saying, embrace creativity, embrace innovation, embrace this way of thinking about problem solving more broadly. That's one of the elements. But also think about what's happening in big tech companies, and like of TikTok. They create great technology, but it's not all in one head. The whole thing, and you talked about recombinant, the whole thing really is about creating a way of connecting the dots in some ways. And that's how you create something that's actually created by humans, but ahead of humans. How do you do that? And it's really about this secret sauce of making things connect. And I think that's the two clues. I think that you're seeing successes around those clues. But I think that there's a lot more to be done. And like I said, I obviously don't have all the answers.
Brilliant, thank you, Edosa. But yes, I know some people at school and some students will definitely connect with those ideas about how to learn, the learning habits, about making links and that creative input. Polly, how are we doing with our questions firing in, and what would you like to pose to our panel this evening?
Good evening. Firstly, I just want to comment on, just sitting here thinking, how lucky are we as a school community to have people who are willing to come back and share their knowledge for so many people. I mean, it's just, just here we have a pupil, we have a parent, we have a member of staff's husband, and we have an alumni all on one evening together. We're just so lucky. Anyway, I'll stop being excited about that. And if I can move to Avye first and ask her, I mean, oh, are we so lucky to be learning from you? I mean, it completely over my head, I have to admit. But anyway, what future projects do you have in the pipeline?
Sorry, my microphone.
You're on, we can hear you, Avye.
I know, right? My microphone's not switching on.
It is, we can hear you, Avye.
No, we hear you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, some future projects. Well, one project that I'm working on, and also at the same time want to learn more about, is IoT, so the Internet of Things. So I'm working on a project which involves IoT and sustainability, and is linked with one of them is linked with air quality, and another one's linked with part of the sustainable kind of goals. So yeah.
I need to spend some time with you, Avye. I can put you in touch with several of our alumni, both in the Internet of Things, and I certainly know somebody who would be very interested in all things STEM related. So I will catch up with you on that. I'm now going to move over to Holly. And Holly, a message for you from someone I'm sure you'll remember, Charlotte Demetz, who is on with us tonight. And they've set the sixth form a TikTok challenge for the European Week of Languages, which they're doing under their own steam. But how do you think teachers could use the platform in a classroom to help pupils with modern languages?
Oh, I love that one. You'll have to say hello from me, and if I need to come in and judge it, I'll find some time in my diary. I think we see teachers perform lots of different roles on TikTok. I think back to school is a time where we see people on TikTok, teachers, pupils, and actually just the general public talking about back to school. So I think, again, just general topics, we see a lot of conversation in the billions, and we've seen that increase. from a languages perspective, we see a lot of people come to TikTok to learn. The hashtag learn on TikTok, we've seen huge popularity with. We've seen live streams of space landings. We've seen Stephen Fry narrate a kind of the ABC of TikTok. So we've definitely seen people come to learn. So I guess it could be a way to sort of set bite-sized challenges, I guess, or encourage pupils to practice for their oral tests. Kind of do some role playing, because there's quite a nice way of bringing in creativity where you can almost be different characters. You can use TikTok voiceovers. I guess, again, I think it's more about sort of making people feel like they can come out of their comfort zone with languages. So a kind of practicing, they don't even have to post publicly. It could just be a way of private posting. But yeah, I'd say creativity, encouraging the girls to kind of teach the class something, learn on TikTok, make a TikTok a week, have prizes. Happy to take that subject up offline, but that was just a few thoughts to start with.
Brilliant, thank you, Holly, and I'll certainly see if Charlotte will share her first attempts for you. And if I can go to Richard, and a question here from Olivia. How can I get into filmmaking as a career? And do you have to go to film school?
Richard, you are muted.
I think Richard's frozen.
No, I was locked out. I can't unmute.
No, you're on now. We can hear you, Richard.
Ah, okay. It wasn't. It was saying that only somebody else could do it. Yeah, there are a number of different routes into the industry, and there's the sort of traditional route of starting off as a runner on a film set and then working one's way up. I feel very privileged to have had a background in actual film, because it's a discipline that I think has done me a lot of good. Because when I learned filmmaking, there was 3.5 minutes on a reel. It took 6 weeks to come back from being processed, and you had to be pretty sure about what you were filming. You rehearsed it, you made sure it was going to be a good take, and then you did a take. And that's certainly very different nowadays. People will shoot, perhaps overshoot, because it's relatively inexpensive, and you just do a number of takes, and you then can take the best bits that you get out of those takes. So I think that a grounding in actual film was a really good thing to get, and that's difficult to get nowadays. The film language of film obviously remains the same. What we're seeing now with immersive media is this move away from thinking about what's in the frame and thinking more about what the experience is and what environment you're in. And these tools are very, they're very good at certain things. So VR is a very personal experience. Certainly, if you're in a headset, you've got no distractions. You're not aware of other people's reactions to things. It's a very good empathy tool, whereas traditional film is very good at conveying other messages. And then we look at all the short form TikToks. That's another development of filmmaking. So it's about getting across a message in a very short space of time. I know I'm not really answering the question about how to get into filmmaking. I think there are a lot of different avenues in. I don't think you have to go to film school, although I do believe that there are some fundamentals that would do you a lot of good knowing. So some grounding in the language of film would be a good idea. So perhaps an introductory course into filmmaking, and that will also you'll find a niche that maybe works for you within filmmaking. So I don't know if that helps.
Holly, can I add quickly just to that one? I know it's a weird one for me to add to, but a couple of my friends have gone down the route. And again, with my own career, I'd say your degree doesn't necessarily have to show something as long as you show your passion another way. I remember Mr. Owen saying that to us in a classroom once, but it is true. So whether that's going to writing, emailing people, asking if you can come and spend a week with them in your summers, in your Easters, in your university holidays, approaching them on LinkedIn, showing them what you've done, having a portfolio. I think, again, people are so much more interested in people that are passionate and smart. So if you can show those two things, I think we definitely see a lot. And like TikTok have started a grad program, kind of, again, with that ethos. So yeah, just something to add that I've noticed from my friends that I know have gone into film too.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you very much, Richard. Actually, very quickly, Richard, just touching on the VR. If VR requires a headset to view, then what is its future? And do you think this will really take off as mainstream entertainment?
I think it's definitely seen a big, what's driving VR is the gaming industry. So as the gaming industry has a lot of money behind it, because a lot of the games are bigger than Hollywood movies and they have massive budgets. So that technology is driving the chipsets, it's driving the headsets, it's driving the ability to do things that we only dreamed about doing just a few years ago. So, there are a number of headsets that are headsets are becoming smaller and lighter. The Quest 1 was quite quickly followed by the Quest 2, and they were leaps and bounds apart. And they're already talking about the next headset. So headsets will become more convenient to wear. They'll become there are certain issues with the headsets at the moment because of the screen being very close to your eyes. Things that your brain is being cheated into thinking that these things are further away, but they're actually very close. So it doesn't, after a certain length of time, there's a certain amount of discomfort wearing a headset. So it's right now it would be quite uncomfortable to spend a day in a headset, but to spend 20 minutes at a time in a headset might be more acceptable. But there are technologies afoot to resolve this problem and to cheat the eye into thinking that plane is further away. So with every problem, there are people working on the solutions, and there are headsets that are much lighter weight, and maybe even just as a pair of spectacles that will soon be the batteries and the resolution of the overlays will become possible at a price point that can reach a lot of people. So I think AR glasses will see a big growth in AR glasses, and on the back of that there'll be a VR headset development as well. So mainstream entertainment, maybe. I mean, I think that the pandemic has done us some favors in that people have realized that Zoom, death by Zoom Zoom has its limitations, but if you're in a video conference in a headset and you can actually look around the room and see the other people in the space, even though they might be avatars, you can still interact with them, and that we are going to see a massive development in that. And the environmental impacts of that, of not having to travel, but be able to be in a space and move around, I think we're still going to see significant growth in that area.
Thank you very much, Richard. And finally, I've got one more question for Holly. Do you think the pandemic lockdown has contributed to TikTok's success as we look for new personal entertainment?
I think, yeah, we definitely saw a lot of people looking for entertainment. I'm going to actually take a different approach this one. So we saw a lot of people doing different things on TikTok in lockdown. I'm going to take somebody that's become a creator. So there was a Michelin star chef. Her name was Poppy. She lost her job. She didn't have a job. So she came to TikTok, like you say, to find entertainment. and actually she started cooking on there. And with that, we saw a month of roast potatoes. We saw her showing her creations, and she now has millions of followers and a cookbook that just released a couple of weeks ago. And even Nigella Lawson, I think, tweeted her yesterday. So from a kind of creator and personal perspective, yes, we definitely saw a lot more people coming to the platform, whether it was Anton Deck, whether it was ABBA guys are on TikTok now. They've released their new music on there. Elton John did live streams. So that, from a celebrity point of view, that kind of gives you the idea from a talent perspective, new talent and existing talent that came to TikTok. And as I think the numbers speak for themselves. So we reported on 100 million monthly active users in Europe last summer, and we've now hit that billion user mark as of recent. So yeah, I think definitely we saw a huge increase. We obviously are only 3 years old. I think people forget that sometimes with TikTok, with the likes of Instagram and Facebook and lots of other platforms having been there for well over the time that we have. So yeah, we've had a lot of growth going on at that time, and I definitely think, yeah, definite growth in lockdown. But I'd say that it was on a trajectory to grow, and we just, yeah, we saw it diversify and a lot of people coming to the platform to seek entertainment over that period.
I'll pass over to you, Stuart.
Brilliant, thank you, Polly. Thank you to all of our speakers for answering my questions. Thank you for all of you sending your questions in and for being part of Pop Talks this evening. 3 years old and already got 1 billion users. That is 1 in every 8 people on the planet. How does that happen? Everything's blowing my mind tonight. Abby, Girls into Coding is 3 years old. You could soon be hitting 1 billion girls out there. Let's hope so.
I mean, I'd love to see Abby on TikTok, just saying.
Abby, let's get you on TikTok.
When she's 13.
Elton John, ABBA, and Mick Fleetwood are on TikTok, I don't know what I'm doing. But I do know, Holly, that's a great cookbook. But can you believe it? I am so old school. I went to Waterstones and bought the actual hard copy. Anyway, Poppy cooks. Guys, thank you so much for joining us this evening on our views on technology. We've seen virtual reality. We've heard from Edosa and the driving this silver bullet through the new industrial revolution, what it takes, artificial intelligence, and just thinking about keeping our minds open for tomorrow, because these jobs don't even exist yet. And surely if there's one thing that we can do, as Richard suggested, let's think about these new realities that are happening across this female planet. Let's lift my spirits like TikTok does, and let's all help get girls into coding. That would be wonderful. Thanks for joining, guys. Thank you once again to our terrific speakers, to Avye Couloute, to Richard Stegmann, to Holly Harrison, and Edosa Odaro. Thank you to our doyen in the Q&A chair, Holly Rumble, and thanks to you at home. Thanks very much. Good night.
Thank you.